Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kat, and today we are doing the Booktuber Name Tag. So this was created by Aaron Read a Book, and there are actually two parts of this tag, and I was tagged for both by Ellen for the first one and by Kelly from Books I'm Not Reading for the second one. So thank you both for tagging me. And so I've decided to do both parts of the tag in just one video. So without further ado, let's dive in. Books I'm Not Reading, a book that's been on your TBR forever. I would say La Vie des Elfes by Muriel Berberi, and it's translated in English under the titles The Life of Elves, translated by Alison Anderson. So this is an edition I got when I was working in publishing. It was before even it was published, and so that's why there is no description in the back, so I don't even really know what this book is about, what's the story, but I know that I got this before March 2015, and so it's been 10 years and I still have to read this. Novel iDeea, a book with an interesting premise or plot device. I would say Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, because part of the book is narrated from the point of view of an octopus, and that's what brought me to this book, and I thought it was incredibly fun to read from that perspective, and I absolutely loved it, so I would recommend. Another one would be Réparer les Vivants by Maëlys de Kerangal, which has been translated into English, but under two different titles. So you have Mend the Living, that was translated by Jessica Moore, or you have a version called The Heart, translated by Simon Teller. This is literary fiction. The writing is incredible. So this is following the heart of a young man who unfortunately dies in a car accident, and he is eligible to be an organ donor. So I think what is unique about this book is that you're not following a specific character, you're actually following the journey of that heart through the different processes of organ donation. And so it's quite unique and again, beautifully written, so I would highly recommend it. Revenant Reads, a book where someone has returned from the dead. I will have to stay very vague about this one because it's very spoilery, but within the very long Fortunate Warren series, which I think is 5 books at the moment, and the 6th will come out at some point. So the Fortunate Warren series by KJ Sutton, which is a romantasy series with fairies and vampires and werewolves and sirens and all the kind of creatures. At some point, someone comes back from the dead, and that's all I will say. CriminOlly, a book where a crime takes place. An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is a fantasy, a standalone fantasy, and we are following Isabel, who is a human painter. She is so talented that the fairies in this world are actually seeking her out to paint their portraits. So that's what she does, except one day she paints a fairy king with human emotions in his eyes. And that actually in this world can cause him to lose his throne and potentially his life. And so he takes her to his court to be standing trial for a crime. Loved it, would highly recommend. Book Time with Elvis, a book about time travel, or someone named Elvis. I haven't read this yet, but really want to. This is Internal Time by Till Roenberg, and it is translated from the German by Dumont Butch Verlag. Probably pronouncing that very badly. I'm sorry, I don't speak German, but this is a book about chronotypes and what living against your chronotype does to your body. Very keen to read this. Middle of the book March, your favorite book that you read in March. So going through my spreadsheet where I keep track of all the books that I read, I think I've been tracking properly since 2021 and realized that March hasn't been a very great reading month for me in general. So the best read I have from a month of March is a book of professional development, which is not really what I would expect to end up in such a video, but here we are. This is The Leader Lab by Tanya Luna and Leah Renninger. And it's the best book I've read on management. So if that's something you're interested in, want to educate yourself in, I would highly recommend. It's full of very good practical tips and things that you can do on the day-to-day to be a good manager and help your team and direct report thrives. So it's a fantastic book, but again, not what I expected to be the best book I read during a specific month. Editing cat here. So I'm not only very late on my tags, I'm also very late on editing. And so I filmed this tag video a while back. And so since then, March happened and I actually have a new favorite for the month of March, which is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Vicky Schwab. It's fantastic. Go read it. Book Buds, a book with a great friendship. I love this prompt. I would recommend Loveless by Alice Oseman, where we are following Georgia, who is a young woman starting her first year at university. And what's special about Georgia is that she has never kissed anyone, but also never had a crush before. And so she kind of questions her identity, what might be going on here, is she normal, all those kind of questions. And you can probably guess where this is going, and also why friendship is so important and central in this book, and why we should all cherish our friends. So I really love this. This is a YA contemporary book and would recommend if you're curious about the little blurb that I gave you. Obscure Book Adventures, a book that you love that never gets talked about. Committed by Elizabeth Gilbert. I think we have all heard about Elizabeth Gilbert for Eat, Pray, Love, but I don't hear much talk about her other books, especially Committed. This is obviously a non-fiction, and so at the end of Eat, Pray, Love, hopefully I'm not spoiling anything, she meets a man. And so in this book, it's kind of a follow-up to Eat, Pray, Love, although very different. She is with this man who is, I believe, Brazilian, and they end up in a situation where she either needs to marry him or he will never be allowed foot in the United States anymore. And so she's kind of forced into marriage, and Elizabeth Gilbert is a very free-spirited woman, very independent woman. So she has a lot of resistance and questions about it. And so this book is about all of that. It's a reflection on marriage, relationship, the fears that go with it, the expectations, all of that. I thought it was super interesting and definitely do a reread. Savage Reads, a book with a monster or beast or human acting monstrous or beastly. I would say The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. I don't think I need to give you a summary of the plot. It's a very famous and kind of mythic book at this point, but clearly some people in the story are behaving in monstrous ways, and having to kill each other can draw that out of some people. So yeah. All right, now moving on to the second version of the tag, starting with Books and Bocadillos, a book which features or is about food. So I have a bit of an unusual take on this, I would say. I would recommend Into the Forest by Jean Hageland. And this book is following two sisters who are living at a time where society is slowly collapsing. We don't see a lot of it on the page, but we are following those two sisters who are living in a house in a forest several miles away from the nearest town. So they're very isolated, and so they're trying to survive. And obviously food is at the center of this survival. So they learn how to can, how to grow a garden, and they need to be very resourceful about feeding themselves throughout this very tumultuous period. It's a fantastic book, highly recommend. And that's all I have to say about it. Genre books. A book you like in a genre that you don't usually read. I think I would say Dina's book by Herbjørg Wassmo. I think this is historical fiction, which is not something that I read very often, but for me somehow this has a fantastical element. I think it's magical realism in a way, which makes it more into my taste. So in this book, we are following Dina, who is a Norwegian woman at the end or mid of the 19th century, I believe. And when she was a child, she accidentally caused the death of her mother. And because of that, her father sends her away. And she grows up to be a very wild, untamed, uneducated kid. Later on, she gets her tutor, who is the first one who is able to entice her into learning and brings out her amazing talent for mathematics and music as well, I believe. And so at some point she returns to the estate of her father, and she is married off to, I think, a farmer who is much older than her and who ends up dying. And so she, from then on, is leading the estate with a iron fist, and a stranger comes to the place and that changes her life. A lot happened in this book. It's a real saga. There are multiple tomes as well, but I think this one was truly the best one and fantastic. So I don't hear a lot of people talking about it, but it's truly amazing and also due a reread soon, so highly recommend. Bookstalgic, a book that makes you feel nostalgic. Todas las personas que fui by Alfonso Casas. I don't think there is a translation in English for it yet, but his other books have been translated, so hopefully it will come soon because it is a fantastic book. It's a graphic kind of fictionalized memoir in a way. It has some speculative element to it. It's about reconciling who we are today with the past versions of ourselves, accepting that they are what led us to be where we are now, and on the flip side, letting the past versions of ourselves forgive us for maybe not becoming who they were expecting us to be, for not fulfilling the potential or not following the path that we thought that we would do as a kid. And it's very emotional, very beautiful, and absolutely love it. Book Songs and Other Magic. A book about or featuring music or magic. Bonus point for magical music. I haven't read this yet, but this fits perfectly. It's The Gods of Men by Barbara Kloss, and in this world, magic is forbidden, but our main character discovers that her music has magic in it when she accidentally kills her little sister with her flute. And from there she's on the run, and that's all I know about it. It sounds really intriguing and really, really cool, so very curious to read that. I would also recommend Gone by Min Kim, which is a memoir about a violinist who got her violin stolen and the significance of that. It was really, really good. I really recommend the audiobook as well. And then I also have 2 books on my 25 for 2025 list about music. The first one is This Is What It Sounds Like, and the other one is In Good Hands. And I've mentioned it, and I've mentioned them, I think, a couple of times already. So quite a few books about music. Passage of Time, a book that is set over a long time frame. Le Livre des Nuits by Sylvie Germain. It's been translated into English as The Books of Night by Christine Donoher. And so this book follows a family for over a century through the different wars that ravaged the European continent. And it does have a magical realism element. So I've seen this book compared to 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I would say it's the French version. And so I read this when I was studying creative writing, and not something I would have naturally picked up, but absolutely loved it. The writing style is so luscious and purple and lyrical. It's fantastic, and would highly recommend, and would love to find someone who has read it to talk about it as well. Your True Shelf. A book you couldn't believe was a true story. I would say Merchants of Doubt by Naomi Oreskes and Eric Conway. There were parts in this book where I cried in frustration because I could not believe what industries would do, how the length they would go to destroy people's lives that were challenging what they were trying to sell. This book is about how some scientists are being used by some industries to spread doubt and discredit the true science and criticism. So for example, tobacco or climate change, that are the main two ones. This was so frustrating and so infuriating that, yeah, I had a hard time believing that people would do that to other people just for profit. It made me truly, truly mad. Spread book joy, a joyous book that makes you happy. I recently read Night Owl by Christophe Denis, which is an album for kids, and the illustrations are just so cute. I was gushing at every page. It's obviously a very short read and absolutely delightful. Book Chat with Pat, a book with great dialogue. The Bandit Queens by Perini Schroff. I think those characters were hilarious. The banter they have between each other, how snarky they are, I think the dialogues was fantastic. Highly recommend. Roving Reader, a book that is set in multiple countries or lands. Pink Boots and a Machete by Mireia Mayor. This is a memoir of the first woman to be a National Geographic explorer. It's fantastic, it's feminist, empowering, impressive, everything that she's done. She is a fearless, badass woman and highly recommend. Bonus, a book that matches your own channel name or a channel you love. I would say The Center by Ayesha Manazi Siddiqui, because in the book, the character is called a few times a curious cat. So perfect match. And on a more metaphorical way, I would say The Guest Cat by Takashi Hiraide, translated from Japanese by Eric Salland, which is about a couple in their 30s kind of losing touch with each other. And one day a cat comes into their garden and they start caring for him. He comes back the next day and the next day and the next day. And so their lives are transformed by this cat coming into their garden. And it's a lovely Japanese story, which I love. Now onto tagging some people. Honestly, I'm having a hard time keeping track of who's done which tag because I'm so behind on tags. So if you are watching this and haven't done the tag, then consider yourself tag. And hopefully the 3 people I want to tag on this have not done it yet. Kat from the Kitebag channel, Maeve from Maeve Ever Reading, and Feral from the Feral Jane channel. She's new on YouTube, so show her some love. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.